What's up guys, Oxford King here, and in this Black Myth Wukong video, I'm gonna walk you through how I built this Thunder build. Let's get started. So the first thing I want to talk about is the build, how it works. This is very different from other builds that I've done, although I still lean heavily on Spellbinder. I just love Spellbinder. So yes, this is another Spellbinder build, but the spotlight of this weapon, of this build, is the Stormflash Longstaff. And yes, you do need to be in New Game Plus in order to use this weapon. Now, once you unlock this weapon, it says the following. The unique effect, it draws thunder while charging and inflicts thunder damage with every staff attack when in shock state. And if you notice, this shock state is written in bold red letters. So you basically need to be in that state in order for this build to work. And how do you do that? I'm going to showcase that here in just a second. Now, the attack rating is 140, which is really high, and we have a critical hit chance of 9%. Now, going over the build itself, I'm going to walk you through the gear, the spirit, the Curios, the Gourd, all that stuff right now. So the first thing that I use is the Bull King's mask. Now you can use whatever helmet you want. You don't have to use what I'm using. I just happen to like the look of this helmet. I also like the benefits that you get from this helmet. So unique effect, it grants moderate focus upon taking damage. And it says the following: if the Destined One is under the effect of tenacity, it grants more focus. I just happen to like this helmet, but again, choose whatever one that you have here that you like the most. I do swap this out with the Golden Fong Tail Crown in order to use Spellbinder, which I'll explain here later in the video, okay? Backing out of this, your main three gear pieces are going to be the long scale battle robe, long scale arm guard, and long scale greaves. And the reason we're doing this, these are fully upgraded by the way, the reason we're doing this is because with this, you're going to have further increases thunder damage across the board, and then you're going to have moderately increases the thunder damage even higher when you have all three pieces equipped. So again, long scale battle robe, long scale arm guard, and long scale greaves, fully upgraded, okay? The helmet is a free-for-all. You can choose whatever you want for your helmet, all right? Next up is the spirit. Now, what I do when I'm already in the Spellbinder state is I typically use the non-able spirit, because with this, you get increased attack, critical hit chance, and critical hit damage. So that's what I go with. But if you're trying to go like all thunder, like you don't want anything else, you want just thunder, I would recommend that you take a look at the Rat Governor Spirit. With this equipped effect, you get moderately increases thunder damage. But honestly, there's so many good choices with the spirits. You can go whatever you like, whatever your build is, and whatever is required for your play style. Don't just go with what I have. I'm only showcasing what I've been using in my New Game Plus journey. All right. So for me, I like to have crit hit damage, crit hit chance, and attack all at the same time. Again, I use non-able. For the Curios, I'm using 2 cat eye beads, which gets us an extra critical hit chance of 3% each bead. And then I use the Tiger Tally, which upon successful hits with light attack combos, which we do a lot of, this will moderately increase attack for a short duration. The attack rating basically goes up the more you attack. This one here is a staple in any melee build, for me at least. And the final slot is pretty much open, whatever you want to choose. For me, I went with the Amber Prayer Beads, which does the following. It moderately increases the speed of buildup of focus points, which we're going to want a lot of. Now, let me walk you through how I set up my Spellbinder build. So the first thing I do is I unequip the spirit first, and I equip the one that gives us maximum mana. In this example here, I'm going with Gourd Daost, or Daost, however you pronounce that, whereas the equipped effect moderately increases maximum mana. So let's go ahead and equip that for the maximum mana. Next up, I unequip the Bull King's mask, and I re-equip the Golden Fong Tail Crown. Why? Because it gets us 30 more maximum mana. So right now, we're at 510 maximum mana. It doesn't stop there. I come down to the Curios, and I go ahead and open up the menu here, and I quickly come up to the Thunder Flame Seal. I equip that one. I hit R2 to the next Curios. I equip another Thunder Flame Seal, and then finally the third Thunder Flame Seal in that third slot. Now for the fourth slot here, you can equip whatever Curios that you want. And if you are curious on how I unlock this one, you basically just defeat the Yin Tiger again in your hub, fight him again, win, and then he'll have a new option to unlock the fourth Curios slot. And then again, in New Game Plus 2, you can unlock a fifth Curios slot, just so you know. Now, what I typically do here is I equip the gold button. When at full health, it significantly increases your attack. So if you look off to the right, my attack rating is 268. Now check this out in case you didn't know this, because some people already know this. I'm going to unequip it. Now, when I unequip it, guess what happens? That bonus is still there. My attack is still 268. So I always make sure that I equip that on when I'm transitioning into Spellbinder mode. Also, my maximum mana right now is 600, which is typically where I get to before I switch over to the Spellbinder. Now, if you want to take this a step further, you can actually open up your menu and you can drink a medicine here called Essence Decoction, which says the following: upon use, it considerably increases maximum mana for a long duration. I never have the materials for this drink or this medicine, so I never bother with this. But if you do and you want to get that min-max going, I would recommend that you equip this on the bar, get the materials, and max out your mana even further. Okay? Now, after this, I back out of the menu and I quickly go over to the nearest shrine. And I go ahead and hit rest. That way the maximum mana gets completely filled up. And then what I do is I take a little bit of step away, because R2 is the same button to use the incense and it is to use the Spellbinder. So I step away just a few steps over to the left or wherever. And then I pop Spellbinder. Now, once you do that, it's going to take away all of your mana. And then after that, I open up the menu again and I start equipping my damage dealing equipment. First thing I do is I go over to the Spirit and I re-equip non-able. So if you look off to the right, non-able gets us more critical hit damage, more critical hit chance, and attack. Yes, it lowers our maximum mana by -60, but we don't care anymore because we're already in Spellbinder mode. So now you can manipulate your mana no matter what, because you've already acquired that damage from Spellbinder. So I equip non-able. But again, if you're trying to go like all thunder, remember, you can always look at Rat Governor, which moderately increases your thunder damage, to give you some choices, okay? I'm going to back out of here, and I'm going to unequip the Golden Fong Tail Crown and re-equip the Bull King's Mask, like I mentioned earlier. Keep all the other gear that you equip, keep it there. It's all damage-based, okay? When it comes to the seals, re-equip the seals that I showed you earlier in the video. So open up your menu here, and I go over to the green beads here called the Cat Eye Beads, which gets us 3% critical hit chance each pair of beads. So I equip this one here. I hit R2, go to the next one there. For the third slot, I hit R2, I come down to the Tiger Tally, which upon successful hits with light attack combos, moderately increases attack for a short duration, boom. And then the fourth slot, remember, we already got the benefit of gold button for that attack rating. So what I do here is I unequip it, and I look for these right here, Amber Prayer Beads, which moderately increases the speed of building up focus point. Those are the 4 Curios that I use. But if you don't like to use any of these, one of the other recommendations I would give you is right here, the White Seashell Waist Chain, which slightly increases attack +5 for each one of these. It's just one example. But whatever you have in your kit here, I would use that depending on what kind of playstyle you have going on. Okay, next up is the Amplification Pellets. I use this one here because I tend to have a lot of materials for this. I don't have to go and farm it. I find the materials organically by playing the game. And if you didn't know, this is going to moderately increase critical hit chance for a long duration. So this is really nice when you couple that with your relic that I'll show you later. When you pop this with the relic that you have equipped, it's gonna increase your critical hit chance by a lot. To show you an example, right now, my critical hit chance is 39%. Now, with the relic I have equipped, plus this medicine, check this out. I'm gonna pop this medicine here. I'm gonna open up my menu. Remember, we went from 39% to a whopping 64% critical hit chance because of that relic. I'll go over the relics in just a second. Now, when it comes to the relics, because I'm in New Game Plus, I have not beaten the game in New Game Plus yet, so I am missing my second point for a couple of these. But I'm going to start here with Craving Eyes. I do have Opportune Watcher, which considerably increases focus gain upon consecutive light attack hits, which we always do. And then finally, I have Keen Insight, which is going to increase our critical hit damage. Moving down to Fuming Ears, I have All Ears, which slightly extends invincibility duration of the first move of all varied combos. And then finally, Whistling Wind, which temporarily increases attack after a perfect dodge. Moving down to Huber's Nose, I have Lingering Aroma, gains a moderate damage bonus for a short time after casting a spell. Even though I'm using Spellbinder, we still get that benefit right after that. Next up is Hold Breath, moderately extends dodge invincibility duration. Moving over to Envious Tongue, Refreshing Taste, after consuming medicine, which we just did, increases the critical hit chance of the next attack. This is huge. Next up is Tongue of a Connoisseur, each equipped soak slightly increases the health recovery of the drink. Like I mentioned before, when you have the long bomb equipped, the more soaks you have, you can actually get more health recovery. The long bomb has 4 soaks, so keep that in mind. Next up is Grieved Body, and this is where I am at in the game. I don't have a second point, so for this 1 point, I have considerably increases maximum health, everlasting vitality. If I had a second point here, I would probably go with Nimble Body at the top, which says massively reduces the stamina cost of all charged heavy attacks, which we do a lot of. And finally, we have Freed Mind. I have Elegance and Simplicity, moderately increases light attack damage. The other 2, I don't know what I would do because I'm using Spellbinder and Unified Minds and Unbegotten Undying. You can't use these when you're in Spellbinder mode, so I don't know what I would choose here. So you need to look at what playstyle you have going on and pick whatever one that best fits your playstyle, okay? Next up is the Gourd that I'm using. I'm using the Stained Jade Gourd because it massively increases your drinking speed. That's just what I like. You guys don't have to do that. You can do whatever else. There's so many gourds in the game. Whatever you like, just use that, okay? Not super important, but that's what I like is the drinking speed. For the drink is the Long Bomb. I like using this one because you get 4 soaks. And then later on in the relics section of this video, I'll explain why there's another benefit of having more soaks, okay? Another thing too about the Long Bomb is not only do you get 4 soaks, but it also considerably increases damage executed by the next attack. That's a big benefit of having the Long Bomb as your drink. When it comes to the soaks, I'm using Celestial Lotus Seed for a brief moment after using the Gourd. It slowly recovers a small amount of health. So if you notice whenever you drink a Gourd, you always have that little bit of health that's not capping out your health. This right here will cap it out. So I do like that one. Next up is Iron Pellet. Using the Gourd can no longer be interrupted by incoming attacks and provides considerable damage reduction. I love this because there's a lot of times where I'm in the heat of battle or I'm getting swarmed. I can drink this and not get interrupted. That's huge. Next up, B Mountain Stone. When using the Gourd, grants a considerable chance to take a sip without consuming a Gourd use. This is very, very rare when I'm seeing this happen. When it does, it's awesome. So I equipped it. And finally is the Purple Vined Peach Pit, which massively increases the health recovery from using the Gourd when your health is in a critical state. You'll know that when you're in a critical state because your health bar is flashing red. When you drink this, you get more health back. So I do like that one. But again, see what you have in your drinks and soaks and use whatever your playstyle requires, okay? Let's take a look at the trees. First up is the Foundation tab under Stamina. We're in New Game Plus now, so I would imagine that you guys have all the points you can possibly imagine or have at your disposal. So I feel like I shouldn't go over these in too much detail, but I will focus on some things that I feel like are needed, especially for Spellbinder and Thunder damage, okay? Stamina, I would get everything you can under Stamina. I'm not going to go through each one and waste your time. Just grab everything you can. Same thing for Martial Arts. If you're not one of those people who do the spin to win move, you can unequip these on the right side and just grab the one and free up some space on points and put them elsewhere. But again, if you're in New Game Plus, you have all these points, just grab all this stuff. Now, when it comes to survival, now, technically, in my opinion, you should probably have all of these, but if you're trying to min-max your build and you're running short on points, these are the ones that I would recommend that you look at first. One is Wrathful Escalation, which increases your critical hit chance. Next up is Wrathful Might, which is critical hit damage. Another one after that is Surging Momentum, which is going to increase your attack rating. Finally, if you're using Spellbinder, just like me, and you need more maximum mana, this one is huge. Spiritual Awakening. Each talent level moderately increases your maximum mana. Those are the ones I would focus on if you're kind of running short on points in New Game Plus, okay? Now, when it comes to the staff stances, before I go over the stances, I'm first going to focus on this column right here. I want you to take a look at this here. These are all very, very important. But if you're running short on points, I would recommend that you look at Quick Hand because this build relies heavily on charging up your weapon to get into shocked state. So I would look at Quick Hand first. Next up is Secondary Damage. Heavy attacks that cost a focus point deals additional damage to the enemy based on their remaining health, which you're doing a lot of. So these two here, Quick Hand and Secondary Damage, are a staple for this build. Another one is Versatility, where it says each talent level slightly increases damage dealt by all varied combos. The others are optional, but I mean, again, we're in New Game Plus. You should technically have all of these, but those are the 3 that I want to focus on for this build. Now, when it comes to your stances, this is something that I really want to talk about because we all have our favorite stances. I'm in favor of the Thrust stance, but the Smash stance has become, for me, a very nice addition to this Thunder build because Smash stance let you charge your weapon while you're moving and or sprinting, which is huge. you're going to be charging up your weapon quite a bit, which is a con that I want to go over later in this build or this video, is that you have to charge up your weapon a lot to get into shock state. So I am in favor of smash stance, but if you have an overabundance of points in New Game Plus, just, you know, go crazy and get all of the stances. That way you have all 3 stances at your disposal for your gameplay, okay? But if you're trying to min-max, or let's say you don't have enough points, you're like, which one should I go with? I would go with smash stance because it's more convenient. You can charge up your weapon. You get into shock state a lot more often with the smash stance, okay? When it comes to the spell, I'm using Spellbinder. You guys use whatever you want. This video here is showcasing the Thunder build with Spellbinder coupled with it because I love Spellbinder. But you don't have to do that. You can do whatever spells that you want to, whatever you feel like doing. It's entirely up to you. But for me, going Spellbinder, and if you are doing that, I would recommend that you just grab all these points, especially the final one where it's called All or Nothing. This one right here says Spellbinder depletes stamina, but massively increases your critical hit chance. And another tip here is don't sleep on the transformations tab, especially if you're using Spellbinder. Did you know that these icons here affect your character, the ones in the middle? And the reason I'm bringing this up is because we're doing a Thunder build, right? So I want you to tab down and look at this one right here called Bolt Runner. It says the following: each talent level slightly increases thunder damage. So if you're kind of go all out on thunder damage with this build, recommend you come in here, transformations, go down the bottom and get all of the points for Bolt Runner. Another good one here is called Red Eyes. Upon defeating an enemy, it slightly increases attack for a long duration. This effect can stack up to 30 times. So if you're in an area with those enemy after enemy after enemy, or if you're fighting a boss with ads, this one's a really good one. When it comes to the vessel, I'm using the Weaver's Needle. And the reason I'm using this, even though I'm using Spellbinder, is because when you have it equipped, you have an equipped effect called slightly increases critical hit chance and critical hit damage. So as an example here, when I equip this, you're gonna see that my critical hit chance and critical hit damage, they go up by 2% for crit hit chance, and the critical hit damage goes up by 6%. So this is what I use for those 2 damage types. Now, when it comes to this build, okay, it is a little bit different compared to other builds, especially the ones that I've played. Now, our goal, our objective here is to get into shocked state. And you do that by holding your heavy attack button and charging up your weapon. Now, if you look off to the right, you'll see that shock meter building up. And now we're in shock state. If you look at the bottom left-hand corner of your screen, you're going to see your health bar lit up in lightning. You'll also see a lightning logo beneath your stamina bar that's yellow. And then third, you're going to see your player character here that has lightning all over him. Those are 3 indicators to let you know that you are in shock state. Now, I'm going to tab over to the smash stance, and you can see that when I'm running around, sprinting or running or walking, doesn't matter, I can charge up my weapon while I'm moving, which is huge because you're going to be doing a lot of charging. Look, my shock state is already worn off in the bottom left corner, but as you're charging, you can build it back up. And you simply just release the button, and then boom, you'll do a big damage with your weapon, with your thunder damage, crit hit damage, it doesn't matter. You're doing massive amounts of damage. So again, as you're running from mob to mob, pack to pack, whatever, you're going to simply just charge up in the smash stance. Now, you can use the other stances, pillar stance, thrust stance, absolutely you can. But with this one here, you can simply just run around and charge up your weapon. Now, the downside of sprinting and charging and smash stance is this right here. You can't use your camera. Your camera stays in front of you. You can see I'm running to the left, running to the right, but I can't move my camera, right? So I have to literally babysit the camera. That's another downside to this build here, is when you're sprinting and charging, it won't do anything. So like when you're running around like this, your camera kind of follows you around. You get what I'm saying? And then once you're done, you'll notice that every time you're out of shock state, you have to recharge your weapon. That's probably the biggest con or the negative about this build, is you have to kind of babysit, not even kind of, you have to babysit the shock state constantly. But once you get shock state going, it lasts a pretty good while, and your damage is just considerably increased, especially with Spellbinder. It's a lot of fun. So watch, I'll show you the pillar stance right here. I'll go ahead and do this pillar stance. That way I can show you can still get into shock stance with this one as well. And then I'll go ahead and do a 12-6 move, and it looks just like that. So that keeps you in shock stance, no matter what stance you go with. You get what I'm saying? One quick tip here is if you're gonna go with the smash stance when you run around and charge your weapon, there's a tip here that I want to show you that actually came in very beneficial for me. Is I want you to open up your settings and to go down to gameplay. In gameplay, there is an option called auto lock on when attacking, or auto target when attacking. these turn on. These are huge. And the reason I say this is because there are going to be a lot of times where you're running around and you're charging up your weapon and you don't want to babysit any of that. So you simply let go of your button here while you're charging up your weapon. It'll automatically attack and lock on to that enemy. It's actually really nice. I hope you enjoyed this build guide for Black Myth Wukong. Thanks for watching.